the responses, okay? And right about now, let me remind you that I think the president is still going around trying to collect the contributions.
Chanting ho, la 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 Mount Sinai. Chanting ho, la ho, la ho, la ho, la ho, la ho, la ho. See the Rasta man come from Mount Sinai. See the Bingy man come from Mount Sinai. Chanting ho, la ho, la ho, la ho, la ho, la ho, la ho. La Mount Sinai, chanting ho, la 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 Mount Sinai. Rastafari is that new name, precious name. Rastafari is that new name, precious name, new name. Rastafari. Yes, I love it. And I must acknowledge the Coral Gardens incident was not just a Montego Bay, and as Brother Jerry Small has also said, it was a national event. But beloved, it also had international repercussions. We must remember that in the 1950s, the dreadlock warriors in Kenya, led by Dedan Kimathi, defeated the British and got back most of their land, although they managed to execute the leader, Dedan Kimathi, due to the treachery of Jomo Kenyatta. And because the British were defeated in Kenya in the 1950s at the hands of the dreadlock warrior, the British, when they encountered the other set of dreadlock warriors in Jamaica, they wanted to teach us a lesson. So we must understand the Coral Gardens atrocity in its context. Prior to Coral Gardens, the Jamaican government had asked the British government to send to His Imperial Majesty for His Majesty to deny himself and to say that he was not the Almighty. They wanted something from the High Majesty in writing. And when the Jamaican government sent to the British government sent the emissary there. And the emissary went back to England and said, if there is a perfect man on earth, it is that man. Highly I, Selassie. So my brethren, when they tried to crush that spirit in 1963, they thought that if they killed a few leaders, it would stop the movement. And therefore, when Their Majesty came here in 1966, was to stop the atrocities and to turn around the respect for Rastafari. Does ones and ones understand what I am saying? So, the Coral Gardens, because if they had defeated Rasta at that time, they would have stultified the movement worldwide. And that was the aim of the British government, to avenge its defeat in Kenya by trying to take revenge on us here. And therefore the British government gave lackeys and persons who were not thinkers, people like Bustamante, they could always use him. And that was what they did, to use him to suppress Rastafari here. But 39 years later, I and I not only stand, but we stand majestic in all empirical glory. So let us all with great and mighty voices hail his imperial majesty. Hail the eye! Hail the eye! Hail the eye! Jah Rastafari. And to glorify him, I will just read to the item my personal motto. This is at page 57 of the book, The Third Testament. This is a book that we have republished. And this is what the Majesty says here. He says, "It is indeed an immutable law of life that man's striving can never end." I repeat it again. It is indeed an immutable law. Immutable means it cannot change. An immutable law of life that man's striving can never end. That to pause in life's struggle is to slip back along the road to progress. You see the high standard His Majesty set for I and I? He says, to pause in life's struggle is to slip back along the road to progress. So the man who is not even working, the man who is doing nothing to advance the struggle. Because if the man who is working, Their Majesty said, when you pause, you're going back. Picture the man who is doing no work at all. That is the high standard that Their Majesty expects of I and I. There is really no time to pause in the struggle. This is my motto, and this is my guidance. I pass it on to the item so that we can overstand the great works which is expected of all of I and I once we have taken up this mantle. Rastafari. We move next now into the burning topic of reparations. Let us make it clear. Reparations means that you are to put the victim, you are to put him in a position that he would have been if you did not disturb him. And therefore, reparations, part of the reparations is that it includes repatriation, because you have a duty to put the victim, that is those that were enslaved and taken from their homeland, you have a duty to put them forward in a position as if you had not carried out the crime.
As you were.
A lot of people feel that reparations mean a check. No. One of the cardinal principles of reparation is that the persons who carry out the wrong must firstly apologize, and they must apologize in a manner that they will never do it again. Very carefully. Why we have sued the Queen of England is because the Queen of England is the head of her government. And we must make it clear to the item that at no time slavery was legal in England. Slavery of I and I was outlawed in England. And we have the case of a Jamaican brother who was a slave here, and he ran away from his master, and he found himself in England. And when his master, who was in England, saw him, he tried to recapture him. And he took the matter to court, and the court in England said that slavery is illegal in England. Also in France, slavery was illegal in France. I am making this point because all along the British government, the British monarchy, and the British people knew that slavery was wrong. If they didn't know it was wrong, they would not outlaw it in their country. But they permitted it in the colonies. When slavery was abolished, they compensated the planters 20 million pounds. But at those discussions to compensate the planters, the discussion came up whether or not you should compensate the slaves. And the answer was that the slaves would not know what to do with it. So they never gave the slaves anything at all. History has shown that so many people have gotten reparations. And we have at least 2 or 3 examples of black people getting some form of compensation. It never reached the level of reparations because we never get the apology and we never get the commitment that they won't do it again. We have the example whereby in Florida in 1923, at a place named Rosewood, a black community, one night the white community nearby went over to Rosewood and burned the town down in 1923 January. And they killed about 10 black people. In 1994, 1995, the Florida government of the United States compensated the victims of Rosewood to the tune of over $2 million. I mention this to show an example whereby even long after the event, black people who have fought for their rights and dignity have been given compensation. We have another example that between 1932 and 1972 in Alabama, over 400 black men were deliberately injected with syphilis. And when they went, the government did it, the health department injected these black men with syphilis to see how their body would react to the disease. And when they went to the doctor for treatment, the doctor kept telling them they have bad blood. And some of them died. In 1995, the United States government acknowledged that it did wrong to these black people. And those who had died, they compensated their children. Those who were alive, they also were compensated. I give you these two examples that I know of black people who have fought and have been compensated. And I am saying now that these examples are minor. The Jews, for what Hitler did to them, have already gotten more than $8 billion in compensation. And they said Hitler gets rid of 6 million Jews, and they have already gotten 8 billion. The Middle Passage alone, more than 150 to 200 million black people perished in the Middle Passage, coming over from Africa to the Caribbean and the Americas. And then we have more than 5 million perish when they were being taken across the Sahara to Europe. They were walking barefoot in the hot sand for thousands of miles. No amount of compensation will ever be enough. And no amount of compensation will make us forget. But when we analyze the world today, when we look at the state black people is in, we realize, and like I have always said, it is not work hard. No one work harder than I and I. Our grandparents work hard. Our great-grandparents work hard. Our mothers and fathers work hard. And yet they have nothing to even give unto us. So it's not work hard. Don't let them ever fool you and tell you you must work hard. No. The reason for that is we have never been justly compensated for the work that we have done. During slavery, we got no compensation at all. And we are saying, no, let us start just by compensating us for all the unpaid wages our ancestors never got. Let us start here, because that can be worked out. And then we go further, we say, look, You stole all our books. You stole our great paintings. You stole our great carvings. You stole our great artifacts. Things that have meaning to us and have little meaning to you because you don't understand it. Until this day, if you look at some of the channels, they are trying to fathom the pyramids. They will never fathom it because the white race cannot fathom what the black ancestors have laid down. They can measure it, they can estimate, but they cannot link the physical pyramid with the spirituality which came into us that we could have built it. So it means little to them. But it means our alignment with our Holy Father throughout life. This is what our carvings mean to us. This is what the obelisks, the Pope stole the obelisks from Ethiopia when they invaded. Some people might say the obelisks look like stone needles that you put up in the earth. And people might say, but this is just concrete. But you think if it was just concrete, the Pope would fight a war to get it and bring it, come to Rome and put it up? But then he realizes that in Rome, it has no power. Whereas in Ethiopia, it has all the mystics. And we are saying, we want all these things returned unto I and I.
Yes, right.
We're further saying that for all the minerals that you have taken out of our land, you have even used us to take out some of those minerals. And you have used all of this to build up your country. And you have further deprived my country. We are therefore saying, rather than have to spend the time to carry out some of the experiments now, we are saying some of those experiments which were carried out by black people and which you took away and put your name to, we want those knowledge back to I and I. The reason why, because some of those knowledge, for example, we were the ones who were able to solve diseases like malaria, diseases like sickle cell. So I want you to understand that there are so much aspects to the reparations that we haven't started yet. Some of you may have heard Perkins on the radio. When reparations is mentioned, Perkins always quick to mention, what about the black collaborators? Because there were black traitors who aided the white man to sell us into slavery. So people like Perkins and others always telling you, what about the black collaborators? But I want to give you a precedent which took place. At the Nuremberg trial. Now, Nuremberg trial was what took place after the Second World War, when many of the German generals were placed on trial for their crimes against the Jews. And at the Nuremberg trial, that issue was raised, what about the collaborators? Because it was shown that there were many Jews who sided with Hitler against their fellow Jews. And you know what the judges said in that trial? The judges said, that is the very reason why you should compensate. Because the mere fact that you were able to divide brothers against brothers and made some people have to sacrifice themselves is the very reason why you should compensate the victim. That was a legal position at the Nuremberg trial. And that is the answer that I will tell to the Perkins and Company. We won't be distracted by the collaborators. We will deal with all those who were the victims of this crime against humanity. I heard my sister mention earlier about a case in 1987 that the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress had brought. I just want to say that at no time that case was ever discussed with me, and at no time did I ever participate in that action. I know nothing about it. This present action that we have brought, the strategy, because many of you must be wondering, what type of evidence do we plan to put before the court? If we just call a brother or a sister to come up and say, look, I am a descendant of slaves and I want my ancestors' rights, the judge is going to say, no, can you prove that you are a descendant of slaves? And we can't prove it because we have no birth certificates to go right back to show that. So the strategy I am using this case now, I am using because in law, you are allowed to use what we call expert witnesses. An expert witness doesn't have to be there to give an account. So we plan to use an expert psychologist because we want that psychologist to show the effects of slavery on our people's mind today. We're using an expert psychiatrist to show the behavioral pattern of our people. I'm using expert historians. I'm using expert human behavioral teachers. And of course, we are using expert Rastafarians. A Rastaman who has lived this trod and have trod it and have suffered the degradation, the imprisonment, the brutality and so on, that man is an expert. And we will be putting expert Rastafarian evidence. Beloved, I am saying all this for the island to understand how serious we take it. And we know that there will be many rounds, that we might even lose some of the rounds. But as one brethren said to me, this is a long-term struggle. And in this long-term struggle, we know we cannot lose. Why? History is on our side. Every other set of people have gotten some form of reparations throughout history. Every other set. We have started out late. But no matter how long it takes, justice must be on our side. On the 25th of April, the first set of arguments will start in the Supreme Court. All those who can make it outside the court, please do. And when you come, bring something to make noise. Whether a drum, a shaker, a tambourine, bring something. Because voices don't only mean the voices from our body. Voices mean let the noise be heard. Another brethren tonight said to I, Ras Miguel, don't you think we should draft up a petition and get 1 million signatures to it? I was so grateful for this suggestion. And this is why I am open to all ideas, beloved, because this is uncharted waters. I cannot and will not have all the answers. But together, if we put all the minds and we put all the ideas, and if we are imbued with the spirit of our ancestors, we must remember when many of our ancestors jumped overboard, many of them, when they were sinking in that water, they put up the clenched fist salute. The clenched fist salute means that we must carry on the struggle. That was what they signaled to us. Fight on! And if we are imbued with that spirit and we put it all together, eventually, beloved, we must conquer them. And that is how we plan. If you notice, this week it was in the papers where a group of brothers and sisters in America have brought a lawsuit against certain companies for reparations. And I have been informed that Johnny Cochrane and other lawyers in America are planning a big lawsuit later this year against the United States government. They are also planning a 1 million-man reparation march on Marcus Garvey's birthday, August the 17th, in America. In June, there will be a Black Lawyers Conference in England regarding reparations. These are just some of the events that has taken place as we try to mobilize our people. I am of the view that the issue of reparations, which include repatriation, is going to be one of the most unifying factors for the African people throughout the world. The last time I saw that level of unity was when we were all united to free Mandela and to lick down apartheid in South Africa. We haven't seen that level of unity on a particular issue since that time. I'm not one of those who delude myself and just keep saying, let us unite, let us unite. People don't ever unite just so. People unite around causes. People unite around issues. And I think that this is one issue that is going to bring us together as we continue our fight. More and more, and when I say everybody has got, I think I have a duty whereby the British government knows what it is like to give reparations. And they gave a set of people, the Maori people of New Zealand. They gave them, and they are still paying them over a period of time, compensation in millions of dollars. But they also gave them back their land. And they also issued a very serious apology, which I will now, with the item permission, read to the item. The Crown, meaning the British Crown, expresses its profound regret and apologizes unreservedly. Do you hear those type of apology? You don't apologize and hold back some. You apologize unreservedly to all the members of the Engatau, the Watunal people. This is what they apologize for the suffering and hardship caused and for the harmful effects which resulted to the welfare, economy, and development of the Engatau as a tribe. Do you hear what they're apologizing for? They're apologizing for the resulting harmful effect that the their actions over 100 years ago had on the people today. See if we understand this, beloved. In other words, when we see the little youths take up guns and murder one another with such ease, these are the consequences of slavery. We were never that type of people in our homeland Africa. We had disputes, yes, but the ease now, that the first rule we had with little boys coming up, we had the initiation rites at 13, 14, whereby the elders would remind that little youth of the purpose and his mission on earth, and would help to guide him to live to fulfill that mission. We have no such thing over this part of the world. And the little 13, 14-year-old youth graduate and he aspires to become a gunman. And if you tell him that if he continues at this rate, his head is going to be blown off, he tells you that that is nothing. He was never taught and brought up to understand the value of life. And if he doesn't value his life, he will value no other one's life. Those are the consequences of slavery. And that is why the apology is important. Because you must acknowledge that what you did then when the governor, they were building Sam Sharp's gallows outside his prison cell, he could look through the bars and see where they were building his gallows right here in Montego Bay. And the governor asked a pastor to go and talk with General Ruler Samuel Sharp to ask him if he will renounce what he did. And if he agreed, they would spare his life. Samuel Sharp looked through the bars of his cell and said, "It is better to die on yonder gallows than to continue as a slave." Those words said by Samuel Sharp was like a relay. He was passing a baton unto I and I now. Yeah. Because if he made that sacrifice, and if we don't continue, then that sacrifice would be in vain. Is that so? Yes. Yeah. Would that mean that his sacrifice of his life was in vain? Yeah. If we don't take it up now and carry it forward? And that is what we have to do, I love it. So, I was really hoping that we would have had time, that we could have had even questions from my brothers and sisters, because I didn't want this to be just another speech. This has to be a two-way learning system. But the time. But we'll find ways and means to communicate with each other. And I'm going to draft up the petition which the brother has recommended that I do. And we get as much signature all over Jamaica, all over the world, as we carry out this fight. And if we don't get justice at the Supreme Court here, we will go to the Court of Appeal. And if we don't get justice there, we go to the Privy Council. And if we don't get justice there, we go to the International Court of Justice. And if we don't get justice there, then we appeal to the High Majesty, Haile Selassie, who we know will give us justice. I just want to mention, many of you know about, as I move to another area, many of you know of, and I heard a brethren mention it here tonight, I think it was the I, about the Willie Lynch syndrome. Willie Lynch, and Willie Lynch had mentioned about the divide and rule tactics of using black people, especially during slavery. But I want to share with you all tonight that Willie Lynch and his syndrome originated in America. But right here in Jamaica, we had what was called the James Splain syndrome. I don't want you to forget that name now. I want you to remember it just as much as how you remember Willie Lynch. In 1872, the Catholic Church sent a man from England. Now 1872 is after slavery was supposed to be abolished in Jamaica. And the Catholic Church sent an Englishman from England by the name of James, adopted by the white race in Jamaica. Not America and other places now, in Jamaica. This was James Splain's formula. He said, they, meaning black Jamaicans, never will take any interest, any disinterested interest in their master's work. And they have not the ballast to be masters. Therefore, they must be slaves or servants. And they must be held by pain of belly or pain of back. Beat them or starve them. This is in 1872. I want my people to understand the Willie Lynch syndrome, but we had the James Splain syndrome here in the Jamaica. Hear what he said? They, meaning black Jamaicans, never will take any interest, any disinterested interest in their master's work. That part is true. We were never interested in the master's work. So he said, and they have not the ballast to be masters. That means we don't have the brains to be masters. Therefore, they must be slaves or servants. And they must be held by pain of belly or pain of back. Beat them or starve them. I fully agree with Sister Esther when she says, the time taken to notice whether red up or red down, whether this, whether that, means that the enemy keeps getting away. These are the issues that we must know that we can bring up our children, because although they won't say it today, but this is their thinking, we must be controlled by pain of back or pain of belly. These are the things that we need to counter, and to counter in a powerful way. And therefore, when the Rasta man teaches this society, because from early, you couldn't catch the Rasta man with pain of belly, because he don't eat where you eat. So you can't catch him with that. As a matter of fact, they have all become stoosh now, and they call themselves vegetarian, running down the Rastaman food. They don't want to call themselves item, they say vegetarian. So you could never catch I and I with pain of belly. And we have shown over the years that our back is broad for all our elders that were mowed down, imprisoned, brutalized, killed. The philosophy of Rastafari has never been dented, despite what they do to many of I and I physically. That philosophy which tells you that we hail highly I Selassie as the Almighty has never been dented. That philosophy which says we must repatriate to our homeland has never been dented. The philosopher which says that the red, gold and green is our banner and we must not put it below our waist and that we rally around our banner has never been dented. The philosopher says that we are from Africa and Africa is our homeland, our motherland has never been dented. So the pain of back and pain of belly has not worked on I and I. But unfortunately, it has worked on our brothers and sisters. We have a duty. We can't see wrong and ignore it. We have a duty to correct it, even outside of I and I also could not be here tonight and do not comment on the video which was shown recently about the Gideon warriors. What perturbed me was we had comments made by Rastafarian houses and Rastafarian brethren because the media asked these brothers and sisters to make a comment and they commented condemning those that they saw on the video. It reminded me of when the church in St. Lucia was burned down. The amount of brothers here were telling people that those brothers ain't Rastas. And I keep saying to myself, when since Rasta dropped in that pit without knowing the facts, beloved, we should be careful how we comment. One of the brethren in the video, the brethren that we saw with the most locks and the one that was talking and saying one a day, that brethren was arrested by the police last year June, and he spent 6 months in jail charged for shooting at police. I went to Denham town to see a little youth and I saw the brethren. The brethren say, Ras Miguel, could you help me? I am here innocently. And I decided to do the case for the brethren free of charge. And beloved, it never took much lawyer skill for the brethren to be acquitted because the police was lying so badly that the judge stopped the case. Lie, badly lie. Yet they were saying that the brethren had shot at them. One policeman said shot at them, and next one says not him shot at them, is the next one shot at them. And next one saying run across the road into a yard. And next one said no one was sitting on the sidewalk. The evidence was so badly. The judge stopped the case. The same brother you saw in the video.
Contradiction.
That brother came out vexed against police for what they did to him. And I'm certain that video was made, despite the timing you saw on it, after that brother came out. Beloved, it ain't easy when you go through what that brother go through. And if he chants against police, does that mean he's not Rasta? For Rasta to say he's not Rasta. We don't check our facts before we condemn. When since Rasta dropped to that level? I can tell you about that brother personally. Because the brother I had 2 old people who came forward to give evidence if it was necessary for him. One old lady said that morning she gave him permission to climb her ackee tree to pick ackee because the brethren is known to cook ital food in the area. An old lady, 70 came and said she's willing to testify that the man was not involved in any gun business. Many times in this society, the Babylon system make people into things they don't even want to be.
Definitely, man.
And we must understand that. And Rasta of all persons who were the victims of so much persecution. Look what they used to say. We are mad people. Look what they did to the mad people in Montego Bay the other day. They had practiced on Rasta so much that they are now doing it to the mad people. And look, government persons were involved, hotel people were involved, police inspectors were involved, and all sorts of people, and not one of them has been punished for treating those people, carrying them and dumping them and treating them that way. Rastafari, beloved, as I understand it and as I've been grown up to know it, Rastafari has always been a comforter to the dregs of the earth.
Yeah, man.
The madman, the prisoners, the whores and prostitutes. We don't condemn them like Babylon do. They are our sisters and our brothers. We always try to help them. That's the difference between I and Babylon. Isn't that our philosophy? I love it. Well, since we look at people and call them all sorts of names and pick to condemn them, we have always felt, and look how many brethren who have come from the jungle of the earth. We have brothers and sisters amongst us now. We know brothers that used to fire gun more than even and them fire gun. And those brothers hail their majesty now in all sincerity and love and glory. Because we have always felt, take even the scums of the earth and make them. Because His Majesty took I and I, we were the scums of the earth. And He took us and makes us into somebody. Then why it is He can't do that with others? We must be careful, I love it, that we don't join Babylon in condemning ones and ones.
Yeah, man. Man, I condemn him, brethren.
I would like to close because I would like this gathering to recognize and respect 3 great brothers that comes from the Montego Bay region and live in St. James. We tend to honor people when they are no longer with us, but we must get out of that habit. We must learn to respect and honor those that we eat and live with. The 3 brothers I would like to mention is Brother Bongo Joe, great and unfailing brother who has worked so hard for the past 25 years that I have known him towards uplifting the dignity of Rastafari in this part of the world. Let's have a big round of applause for Bongo Joe. I don't know if he's here now, but it doesn't matter if he's here or not. A bigger round of applause for great brothers and sisters that we have among us. The other brother I'd like to mention is Brother Ika Tafara. Brother Ika has soldiered on in many, many ways with his bookstore, with organizing functions like these over the years. He might not seem to be as active now, but this is a brother who has given a great work to this part. Let's give the brother a big round of applause, I love it. Big round of applause. And it would be nice if you further honor the brother by making sure that before long to visit his store and buy something from it. So you put the honor into meaning. The third brother I would like to acknowledge as great and brilliant mind is Brother Bongo Yu, a great and majestical doctor and philosopher, Bongo Yu. Great patriot. Let's give him a big round of applause, I love it. Big round of applause. Let me give you an idea how powerful Bongo Yu is. Some time ago, about 1989, 1990, about that time, some brothers were charged for growing herbs up at the Nyabingi Center at Pit 4 in Granville. The police came and saw some herbs tree and they charged some brothers. I was asked to do the case. However, I sent a message to Bongo Yu to say, Bongo Yu, I'm going to need you as an expert witness to give evidence in the case. Bongo Yu, you know he's a very different man. Bongo Time was the one who carried the message to him. He told Bongo Time to tell Brother Miguel that he has to come and stay 3 days at his house before he will come to court and give evidence. Brother Miguel must come and spend 3 days. He's too busy. Brother Miguel is too busy. He needs to cool down. So if he wants me to come to court, he has to come and stay 3 days. Beloved, I came and I stayed 3 days at Bongo Yu's house. It was 3 brilliant days of learning. On the morning of the case, we came down to the courthouse. When I got up, said, Judge, I am here to represent my brothers. I said, Judge, I will be calling an expert witness. She says, who's that? I said, the Honorable and esteemed Bongo Yu, who is now standing at the door. When the judge looked up and saw him, Lady Judge, she says, Officer, what do you have in this case? Let me hear why you have charged these men. The officer said, well, we went up to the Rasta camp and The judge says, no, that can't hold no water. That can't hold no water. Mr. Lord, sorry to make you have to travel all the way from Kingston and come down. Mr. Yu, she don't want to Bongo Yu, you know. Mr. Yu, sorry to have to make you have to travel and come. But this case is dismissed. Beloved, you think the judge don't know of the power of Bongo Yu? If Bongo Yu had taken that stand as our expert witness, who in Jamaica can contradict him when it comes on to herbs? That is so powerful. But sometimes we as Rasta don't realize the power we have amongst us. But that day, she took one look at Bongo Yu and she didn't want to face him that day. So she says, look, this case is dismissed. Those are the powers that we have, I love it. So let us give him a big round of applause. And if there is any way, when you see him, tell him, even to tell him thanks for all the great knowledge he has given unto us. And if we don't get it personally, we have got it one way, directly or indirectly. We have a duty to tell him, keep up the great works, continue the fight, because those are some of our experts that have come out, that have been nurtured and have evolved out of the field. I love him. I give thanks for the opportunity to be here. I give thanks for the brothers who have organized this function. We might come and not understand how much work goes into make these functions a reality. We don't know how much these functions uplift the spirit. Some of us don't realize the amount of popes and dragons and bishops that functions like these trample underfoot. So let us all, once more, give thanks and praises unto the Most High. Jah Rastafari, Jah Rastafari, Jah Rastafari. Leave I not alone. Congo man say leave, oh leave, Rasta leave I not alone. Yeah, one say leave, oh leave, Rasta leave I not alone. Heart I shepherd, I shall not yeah, man say leave, oh leave, I leave I not alone. I once say leave, oh leave, I leave I not alone. I once say leave, oh leave, I leave I not alone. Oh, art I shepherd, I shall not. Some call him the Rose of Sharon, some call him the Prince of Peace. But I and I hear him Rastafari. I and I hear him Rastafari. Wonderful Rastafari. Bingy John wrote about it in the book of the Seven Seas. Some call him the Rose of Sharon, some call him the Prince of Peace. But I and I hear him Rastafari. I and I hear him Rastafari. Wonderful Rastafari. Bingy John wrote about Jah in the book of the Seven Seas. might seem tough. There are many days when I and I have no food to eat. There are many days when our brothers and sisters are not even able to send their children out to school. But one day, that balance of power must shift. It must shift from the white, blue-eyed devil to the righteous and chosen people. It must come that I and I is able to live in the full dignity and the high steps of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie. And as long as I and I trod earth, as long as there is life upon this earth, whether it is in the form of the trees, the birds, the rivers, the hills, we must pull them all together and praise and hail Emperor Haile Selassie. Give thanks, my lords and empresses. Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks.
Yeah, let's hear it from Brother Miguel. Come on, put your hands together. Yeah.